Most of you can probably remember exactly where you were and what you were doing on that fateful September day in 2001.
Obviously a very disturbing live shot there. That is the World Trade Center.
The tragic stories of that day, like the final phone calls from those trapped in the towers, the passengers on the hijacked planes, and the firefighters who rushed in to save lives but never made it back, are seared into our collective memory. So many stories captured the tragic loss of that day. But there's one story you might not have heard before. Although there's little footage of the incident, many eyewitnesses saw it unfold. Today, we're going to talk about the man who attempted to climb his way down the Twin Towers. At approximately 8:46 a.m., a loud boom shook the city. The North Tower was on fire, burning with a gaping hole going through it. At first, no one knew what was happening. Many heard a loud boom, but had no idea what had caused the North Tower to catch fire. 15 minutes later, as suspicions of an accident or natural disaster arose, their worst fears were confirmed, and the truly horrifying reality was revealed, captured for the world to see.
Holy fuck!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Another one, another plane just hit. Right, oh my god, another plane has just hit. Yes, that was definitely looked like it was on purpose.
Everyone witnessed the second plane strike the South Tower, and it became unmistakably clear this was not an accident. America was under attack.
The second plane came from that side, right into the side. Come on, let's go. People trampling each other.
The city was gripped by fear as thousands of firefighters and police rushed to the scene, determined to save as many lives as possible. News outlets scrambled to broadcast the events live, with millions of viewers around the world glued to their screens, watching as the unthinkable happened. The sense of confusion and terror was palpable, but there was also a growing sense of urgency and determination among the first responders as they raced to save as many lives as possible. The most harrowing aspect of this tragedy was that hundreds of people on the top floors of the towers were now trapped with no escape. The plane collisions obliterated all means of exit, and the raging fires only worsened the situation. The internal damage, particularly in the North Tower, was so severe that all the stairways became completely impassable, leaving no possible way of escape. On top of that, many were not only stranded above the impact zones, but also confined within their offices, with their only way out being the shattered windows. Hundreds of people gathered by these broken windows in desperate groups as smoke filled their offices, making it harder and harder to breathe.
We're on the floor and we can't breathe. And it's very, very, very hot. Is all the lights still on? The lights are on, but it's very hot. Ma'am. Very hot. We're all the way on the other side of Liberty. And it's very...
As time passed, the situation grew dire for those still trapped inside. The spreading fires crept closer to the victims huddled by the windows, forcing them to face an agonizing decision. They could remain in the sweltering rooms, enduring unbearable heat that would slowly cook them alive. Or they could choose to jump out for a quick and certain death. Tragically, many chose the latter, deciding that a few terrifying seconds was preferable to the unbearable heat inside.
People are jumping out the windows. Over there, they're jumping out the windows, I guess because they're trying to save themselves. I don't know.
Because I've never believed that they actually say I'm going to jump. I've always believed that the heat is just so ferocious that it just drives them out.
More than 200 people jumped, believing it was a less horrifying fate than the alternative. There were some stories of people who actually tried to utilize tablecloths into a makeshift parachute. However, when they jumped, the force of the fall ripped the tablecloth away, completely destroying their makeshift parachute. There was also another man who attempted to use a rope to lower himself down a few stories from the outside. But tragically, he lost his grip and fell shortly after. But amidst the chaos, one man in the North Tower caught people's attention with a remarkably clever idea. Eyewitnesses noticed him along the side of the building, seemingly attempting something different. He appeared to be scaling down the structure, using the side pillars to shimmy his way down, with his entire back and hand pressing against one side, and his legs and other hand gripping the other side seemed to be the best strategy as he carefully lowered himself, trying to escape the inferno above. Here's an image of what it looked like to give you an idea of how much room he had. People could hardly believe their eyes. The man had already managed to descend several stories successfully from the 94th floor. Though it seemed like a desperate and nearly impossible feat, what other options did he have? Let's explore the potential outcomes of this scenario. First, let's give you some perspective on the situation here. Each tower looms over the city, sitting at over a staggering 1,300 feet in the air. And if that is not enough to illustrate the pure horror, here are a few pictures from the top looking down. For him to successfully descend the entire building this way, it would be nearly impossible. The strain on his legs and body from gripping and holding himself up for such an extended time would eventually lead to exhaustion. His only means of support were the side pillars and the narrow, barely protruding ledge that bordered the windows. Here's a close-up image showing the scale of the beams in comparison to a human body to give you an idea of how much room he had. Descending in this manner, with so little to hold on to, would have been incredibly challenging. In this close-up photo of the windows, you can see that a small groove and about 1 inch of ledge forming the seal of each window would be all the leverage this man had to hold on to. But even if he somehow managed to make it that far, another major obstacle would arise as he neared the lower levels. See these lines on the towers? They indicate a change in the building's design that would have blocked his descent. Notice how the pillars come in, making it very difficult to squeeze through. There's no way he could have had any leverage with such a narrow passageway. This would have obstructed his path, making it nearly impossible to continue downward efficiently. However, these floors, if reached, were mechanical floors, which lacked windows due to their design for housing equipment. Although the pillars narrowed by about 10 inches, if he had made it that far, he might have dropped through the tight gap into the mechanical floors below. From there, he could potentially have found a way to escape down the tower's stairway. That is still a pretty far climb. His goal was likely to reach a lower floor and re-enter the building through a window that was intact below the wreckage and fire, hoping to access the indoor exits. But this approach faced a significant challenge. The windows in the towers were made of thick, tempered glass, designed to withstand high winds and other environmental stresses that skyscrapers encounter. Breaking through these windows would have been nearly impossible. He would have needed to be fortunate enough to find a window below him that was either already open or broken. In this heart-wrenching photo, just to the left of him, there is a shattered window that could have provided a possible escape route. Unfortunately, a beam obstructed his view, preventing him from seeing this potential option, and climbing around the beam to reach the other side would have been incredibly challenging, especially while trying to maintain a tight grip. Many onlookers captured the scene on their cameras and couldn't believe what they were seeing as he managed to descend nearly 20 floors, from the 94th floor down to around the 70th. But as he clung to the building, something terrible happened next.
Take two. Take two and 2, 1. This is as close as we can get to the base of the World Trade Center. You can see the firemen assembled here, the police officers, FBI agents, and you can see the 2 towers. A huge explosion now, raining debris on all of us. We better get out of the way!
The South Tower began to shake and rumble, eventually collapsing into a massive cloud of debris.
It's gone! It's the whole tower! It's gone! Holy crap! They knocked the whole freaking thing down!
When the dust finally settled, the man was gone. No one saw him after that, and his fate remains unknown. Many believe that the collapse of the South Tower likely had something to do with it. People who were there that day reported that when the South Tower collapsed, the North Tower started shaking violently with a deafening roar. These forces alone would have been enough to cause this man to lose his grip and fall. Tragically, while several people attempted to escape in this way, none, as far as we know, succeeded. For the longest time, nobody knew who this man was. But with some deep research, we may have connected the dots. The man was climbing down the towers using a technique commonly known by rock climbers as a chimney climb. It's a well-known technique of scaling up and down tight spaces while using your body in the most efficient way possible. After researching info from the deceased victims from the North Tower, one of them was known to be an avid rock climber. His name was Frank Bennett Reisman. If anyone was seen scaling down the tower successfully and conducting these maneuvers, it likely would have been him. I can't imagine anyone else knowing exactly how to do that. Honestly, it's astounding he was able to climb down as far as he did, if at all. And to think that the only thing that knocked him off was the South Tower collapsing. What an incredible story this could have been had he made it out. He could have been the only person to witness what was actually happening. No one above the impact zone lived to tell what it was actually like up there. Whether he made it inside or fell, it's a detail that shouldn't overshadow the powerful lesson in this man's actions. His story shows the incredible lengths people will go to survive, to see their families, to hold on to life. Think about it. He was just an ordinary guy who went to work that day, with a normal office job. If someone had asked him if he'd ever consider going out the window and climbing down the World Trade Center, he probably would have laughed, because it's not something anyone could dare to imagine. Yet on the morning of 9/11, he did it. And his story deserves to be told. Much respect goes to him and all those who were lost on that fateful day.